Hi, my name is Donald and I like to talk about little things in games that often get overlooked. I try to focus on the tiny things that can turn a good game into a great game, often without even noticing them. I want to do this so that if you are making a game, you might be able to use these examples for your own projects as a reference. I think it can potentially save a lot of time experimenting. So, with the intro out of the way, let's get to it. So number one is this little head turn that Samus does in the main menu. She also does this in the try again screen after you died. To me this is one of those typical things that you could argue adds nearly nothing to the game, but somehow it's still there and someone decided to implement it. I think what it does add is that it really prepares you to go back into the game and has this let's do this vibe. Number two. The text in Metroid Fusion appears in several different ways. So the text you see here is supposed to simulate a screen and has kind of a text editor feel to it. Text that is spoken by Samus appears more calmly, and here you see another type of text that is more specific for Samus's internal dialogue. Number 3 is admittedly not that small, but the start area of the game is just a playground for learning the controls. No tutorial, but just empty platforming space. You have no ammo to waste and you can't get hurt, so the player can just learn by trying. Number 4 is this room door that locks when you enter. Since this room is important and it's in the beginning, you can't continue before learning how to use the navigation room. Number 5 is Samus's landing animation. It's very subtle, but I believe it gives a lot of weight to the character and also makes it feel like she's more part of the world. And here's the animation, what it would be like without the extra landing frames. Number 6 is, I think, often overlooked. It's this small fade when you hit start to go to the menu and back. Because of the fade, it's a lot easier on the eyes and it feels also less abrupt. Here's also an example if it wouldn't have the fade. Number 7 are these little hit particles that bounce on the ground. They don't stay around, so it's less heavy on performance, but they do briefly interact with the world, making it feel more real. Number 8 is the special hatch you have to destroy to continue. Most people know that in Metroid games you often have to shoot the wall to find the secret passage. But if you are unfamiliar with the games, then this is a smart step to learn the player to look out and to find hidden passageways. Also, unlike normal walls, bullets actually bounce off this hatch, telling the player this is something special. Number 9 is the first health upgrade that's directly in your path. The second health upgrade you will see, and you will probably recognize it from before, but this time you have to figure out a way how to get it. Number 10 is when the UI does this scan animation when you receive a new part of the map. I think it's just aesthetically pretty cool, but it also is a slower reveal on how big or small the next level or challenge will be. Number 11 is when your HP is critically low, the game starts beeping. This makes gameplay during these moments more intense. Also, it really sounds like a warning beep coming from the suit, which I think is a nice detail. Number 12 is the fact that there is no button for a use function. Shooting is always shooting and jumping is always jumping. Whenever you do need to interact with something, you just have to stand on a specific spot, and Samus does the interaction. Or sometimes you have to shoot a button to trigger it. Number 13 is about the game's camera. The camera in Metroid Fusion is actually pretty straightforward in always following the player, but in this section the camera drags a little bit to put more focus on the main elevator. Number 14 are the front and back sides you get to see of the main character. I think even when you have a 2D game, it's cool to see the character from all angles to give it more dimension. Number 15 is when you get a power up after a boss. I think it's cool to see Samus freeze in place on the exact animation frame that you picked up the power up with. Number 16 are the special powers you steal from bosses after defeating them. It's interesting to see the powers being used against you before you obtain it. In this example, you steal a speed boost and a higher jump. Number 17 are the threatening boss build-ups that you don't often see in games. Like this ominous, scary flying shadow, these footsteps coming from the floor above you, or the skeleton in the water. Number 18 comes from the enemy that is your more powerful clone, and the fact you have to avoid it, and that it uses moves that you don't yet have, which makes it feel very powerful and scary, but also shows you the powers that you still need to obtain. Number 19. You can skip text with several buttons for both the left or the right hand. I personally really appreciate this because sometimes I want to move the text forward, but I also want to take a sip of tea or something. Number 20 is how bosses become visually more destroyed or damaged based on their remaining HP. Sprite games often did this, although sometimes with just a color change, but I haven't seen it in that many recent games, so I wanted to add it to the list. So, I think that was it for this video. I initially wrote a lot more on Metroid Fusion, but I think it was a bit too general to discuss in this format. I partially picked this game because Metroid Dread is coming our way, and I thought it would be fun to see if the developers used many of the same tricks as its predecessor, or maybe added new ones as well. And the main question that's mostly on my mind, considering this topic, is how many aspects of a good game can you remove until it becomes a bad game? So anyway, I hope that was something interesting, and I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Peace.